is a very, very, very fine house.
One of those buildings. It was moved. They moved buildings then, you know, with Oxford. The
Beyond
big
it.
buildings was Masonic Temple. I think it was the second floor was where they held that. And there, I think there were apartments up on the second or third floor, see, and the first floor was stores. I don't ever remember being in it. My father used to belong to the Masons. That was built probably in 1840. I think it's a great revival building, but that windows across the top of modern. See, probably had dormers on it. That's the Cottrell House, I think. Where Joe Griffin is.
From the side, I think.
Yeah, it's the side door. See, they used to have the original lock on it. I don't know whether it does now or not. And the stairs are interesting in that building. See, the circle stairs. Built around 105, somewhere around there. It seems to me that's when it was built. I've heard that building. It has, I think it has the original windows in it. And probably built by Chapmans, maybe, see. Now that's where the restaurant was when I was a boy. Those buildings were. And I think that middle part was built into it, see. Because they used the whole of that. Brian had that, a person named Brian, I think it was. Now this was a house, and next to that was I think a Metcalf. That's right next to Joe Griffin's, the next house, and I think a Metcalf had that. It was built probably about 1830, 20 to 30, and now I think there's the stable in the back. There's a store in it.
Oh yeah, that's right. The Thai restaurant.
Yeah, and the restaurant is there. See. Now that building is, looks like a Dixon house. The old library building, so it looks like, about 1800. Because that had HL hinges in it, see. Some of them still in it.
HL?
H&L hinges in it. Some upstairs and I think downstairs. The old kitchen was in the back and it was bricked up, see, as I remember, see. Because they used it as a library, see. And they built an addition onto this side of it later, see. That's where the new library building is. That was where Dr. Belknap had his office. It was originally a ship's chandlery, that building. I think it was built by the Hustons, I think. And they had a ship's chandlery there. I think they could have taken and just used that building and built it over with restrooms and the whole second floor. Well, they could have been used, you know, in that building. He says handlers lived there at one time, I think. Now, whether they handlers, but whether they built it or not, I don't know. I would say it was built in 1830. All those windows were put on in Victorian times, see. I worked on that house, Bill Clark had it. The roof had to be fixed, you know, most of the time it leaked on him, you know. But the whole thing was rebuilt. I think that's probably built about the same time. That's before you get to where Joe French lived. Joe French lived in the house there, every revival house. Fairly well across from where Fisk House was. It's across the street.
Huh.
Yeah.
Well, let me see.
Oh yes, so that used to be the parsonage to the Baptist church. And Walter Chapman lived there. Well, that's the Chapman Hall house. That's about 1760, somewhere around there. That looks like where the trust department, the bank is today. It looks like that building there with that window on the top. There were three of those buildings that were built by Andrew Wilson, right about the turn of the century. There was a Nash house, the Erskine house, and this one here. Well, that's the old fire station. That was built in 1850, and it's the same age as the one in Newcastle. Same type of building. Towers were put on afterwards, I think.
And the
They might have had a
back.
bell on the top when they first put them on there. But I think the towers, I think, or both towers, I think were built shortly after the building was built. And the buildings, I would say it's 1850. See, there was fire stations, see, for both Newcastle, Damariscotta, and I think the same man probably built both of them, see. Now that one, that looks like the one across the street from Day House.
I think it is.
That was
Yeah.
the Days built that house. And Morris Day lived there when he was a boy. In the L of that house. And that's the Morris Day House, the entrance. That's an interesting building. There's a lot of the original trim in it. And hinges and things, eggshell hinges and things were original in it. The attic is higher, and on the attic is higher. Attic's about 8 feet high in the center. See, all those buildings there are built with king posts, and the hip rafters marched into those, and the columns on each side. 4 pieces of wood that marched into the top of that king post. See, that's the way those buildings were built. See? And the carrying timber underneath is an 8x10.
Yeah.
Going down the Bristol Road from the Day House,
Yeah.
where Reggie Martin was a building he lived in there. And there was one that was built of old material that Reggie Martin lived in. Now that may have been the one. See?
And who was he?
He was a druggist downtown. Had a drugstore down there. A Greek Bible. And the trim is very simple. Wide pieces of board, see?
It's nice.
Now that's another one. That's the same one, I think, on the same street. The,
Has big dormers. Those must be new.
those dormers are modern. Those are not old, but that's about an 1840 building. See, the windows are 6/6. That's what they used for original windows in those revival buildings. Now that one, there's a building there too that I think after the Lincoln County Britain building, the news building burnt, and they moved up there on the back street. The Lincoln County News did. That may be the house. Built, I say built about 1830. Well, of course, when the shipyards were being done, was when a lot of these buildings were built. The Day and Houston shipyard, the Norris shipyard, and the Metcalf shipyard, and the Branch shipyard across the river. That was the old folks' home. The old folks' home was built in 1830. That's not an early building. Looks older, because I studied it when they had the clapboards of it. See. Those buildings of that period, an earlier period, had forged nails in them, see, and that had cut nails, see, so that's why I know it was later. It has fireplaces in it. Yeah, they used it was a boarding house for the shipyard, I understand. See. One of those Greek revival houses, see, that didn't be redone. See, with dormer windows upstairs and with a porch on it. I think that's the Jones place. There are 9/6 down on the first floor and 6/6 on the second floor on the Jones house. And that's in that, see. That's what that is. That was built by, that's not the original house. The original house that was there burnt in 1830. And my mother said this stayed over there. So where they were building this building. There used to be a barn there that burnt when I was a boy. It was a big barn. And he had a shop, and that burnt too, next to the barn. But they did manage to get it out before it got into the house, you know. that was when Marion Russell was there. It was built in 1850. See, the first Hiscock house was the one they repaired lately, the story and a half, same age as Chapman Hall's. Then his son built the house across the street that Drum and Drum bought.
Mm.
That was built around 1800. And then his son built this building, which was next to the old house going down the road. See? 1850. Now that's the end of the Hiscock house, I think. Looks like it, because they had a window like that, and that's what Hiram Bisbee put in there on the second floor. See? Anne Mumford lived there when I was a boy. She had a kind of a studio there. It has a little paneling in that house, in the interior, and the chimney. And most of the chimneys are all original. And there was only a cellar under part of it. See? Of course, they used to have those rooms in the cellar because that was the only place they had refrigeration. You had to keep milk, butter, pork, and stuff like that. That's why you had to keep it. I think the eye doctor lives there now. But it was built, I would say, around in the 1840s or 30s or 40s. See. One, there was a tea place, and that's going up High Street. It has that fan over the door. That's my great-grandfather Huston's house. Now, the L of that had a brick oven and an ash kettle built into it. Well, that house of my great-grandfather Huston's. A fireplace on the house side, see. But there was an L run out the back. And a barn. One with a cupola and one that doesn't have one. And those were built all at the same time. And one of them has an entrance carved by Edbury Hatch. Yeah, see, that's the Edbury Hatch carving on the front of that, see, of that building. That was built probably in 1840. Has original windows in it, see. It's a back street. That's the cupola on top of it, I would say. They were built during the time when the shipyards were going, see. The bricks were made right here. Probably down there where the down Easter Inn is. There was a big brickyard down there. And there was another one down on the River Road. Now that house there is where it was a hall place, I think. She has a door in the end like that. I tore out a building there once and back. That was built around 1840. That was built in the 1840s. See? That doesn't have the big chimney in it. I don't see it. I can't see the chimney. A lawyer had died at one time, and there was a stable there that fell down, and it was abandoned when I was a boy. The fire station was the location where there was a brick schoolhouse, two-story brick schoolhouse there, and I went to school in 1927. And that was torn down, and they built it, and built that fire station there. Well, I think that Advertiser had an office there for a while. That may have been a building that when Howell came here and built that Clark Apartments, that was a stagecoach stop. And that barn that's there is where they kept the horses for the stagecoach. And the first when that Howell first got, he built a house across the street, and they moved that up right near the townhouse. A narrow building. That's what looks like a narrow building. That could be the one. That's where Sawyer Vinyl lived.
Sawyer Vinyl?
Yeah, Sawyer Vinyl lived there. There was a stable down back that I tore down. Those are later. Sometimes they put them in if they're small like glass. Usually they'll put in there. In Glidden Street there were windows like that in those houses. That's the Norris barn right there, where they used to keep for the Norris shipyard, where they kept the horses in Oxen. And then set right here. and they moved it down there. They made a shop out of it. Cleve Page owned that at one time. Skeet Page bought it, see. It used to be an old building set right there where that garage is. And it was probably built in 1760, 1770, see. Well, now, Mose Braden lived there when I was born. But it's had the chimney and everything has been torn out. The house is original, see. You go down the street, you want that thing. And that has the old frame, but they tore every trim out of it. So there's nothing original. This building may be a little bit earlier. These buildings here, that and that were built by people what the shipyard built these houses. Well, that there, these are all more new houses. That one there, it was built as a shoe shop. That one there was built in 1930s. And this one was built about 1820. That was Albion. He used to build this for his family. It's a fuller place.
What about this?
And Albion used to build that for $1,200. And that's John Chase's. See right there.
Here?
Yep.
That's
That was a Ferguson house. That Dr. Brown built that. This was by Captain Miller out here. That was the ruler lived there. Now this building here is an 18th century building. It'll be very interesting.
This one?
This one right here. Captain Hall built that. This was built in 1930s. That was moved. That building was moved from Hopkins place. It was moved from Newcastle over there. That's the one
Hopkins
that's
Hill?
moved under the hill. Yeah, down under the hill. Yeah, down Easter End. And out back there, about half a mile, was where the sawmill was. But this house was built about 1800. And this one here, this house was quite interesting because in the yell of it was a summer kitchen with a fireplace and everything. It was all torn out inside. This is his car. This is the old one. That's the one that built that. The next one here. The barn used to sit over here. Next one's right here. 1850 built that. Now these were wooded places. This was Captain Wood that built this house. Already 1800. That one's a little later. So that's the Stewart place. About 1870. Now this place right here, so on this knoll was where Albion used to live. They rebuilt that house entirely in 1885. That's a beautiful train. Now you look at those windows, see the trim over those windows?
Yes.
Dental cornice.
Yep.
That's all original. That's a 70, and that's a late 18th century house. Now the Prentice Tavern. This is a brick house right here.
This one?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know what
You
that
come in for sale.
was. It's for sale.
That's the Prentice Tavern. That was a stagecoach stop. You want to take a picture of that? I don't know. You can see it right here. The windows are original. And most of the trim is. The only thing is they changed the locks on the doors. But the pilasters and those things were original. So,
The shutters?
and the shutters are put on it. And it's got shaven shingles on the walls.
Shaven shingles?
And those are shaven shingles they made by hand. See on that, on the walls of that building. And they put on the forged nails.